Well, hello again, sports fans. This is the latest flight of my newest toy, the Zode Nano Talon. I'm flying it on a 1500 milliamp hour 3S battery with the stock motor and prop. And for this flight I'm using my eShine headset, and the plane will be flying in 6-axis stabiliser mode. Today there's only Neil and myself out at the field, and I'm going to have a go at following his Chipmunk around the sky and seeing if I can get some video of it in flight. It's being a bit cantankerous today, and Neil's having a little bit of trouble getting the thing to keep running. As you can see from the timer insert in the top right hand corner of the screen, it's taking a little while for Neil to get his Chipmunk started. So the plan is for me to launch first, circle round behind Neil and film the takeoff, but when I get there I find that Neil wasn't aware of that plan and has already taken off. So I set about trying to find him in the sky based just on my hearing, because I'm wearing the goggles, and it takes me a few minutes to actually track him. The skies are a peculiar colour today. There's storm clouds and it's bright in some patches, and the camera seems to be having difficulty in handling it. As you can see here, the colours are overexposed and there's a lot of reflection. It eventually settles down, but it's quite difficult to actually see anything through the goggles at the moment. Anyway, that's what I'm blaming for this unintentionally close flyby. So I lose him, and it takes me 3 or 4 minutes to find him again after that. And here he is. So I've added a GPS antenna to my on-screen display and rearranged the information to accommodate it, and this is what I'm looking at in the goggles at the moment. I'm mainly interested in the speed and altitude data, but it's handy to have distance from home and direction arrows, etc. So from this point the camera seems to come good and start displaying more realistically balanced colours, and it makes following Neil a lot easier. It can still be difficult to pick up the plane against the background of the hill, which is what happened here. I was expecting him to do a standard circuit, and I missed the fact that he'd turned the other way and gone up to the right of me. I was quite surprised when I straightened up and started looking for him. He came in suddenly from the left. So the Chipmunk's obviously a fair bit quicker than me, not that I'm trying to stay on top of him, but I thought I'd feed in a little bit of extra throttle just to see if I can keep up with him a little bit better than I have been. So while increasing the throttle does help me keep up with him, I'm a little bit concerned about shortening the flight time, so I wind it back to a more comfortable cruising speed and just concentrate on trying to keep him in the frame. So at this point Neil decides to slow down a little bit, and that gives me the opportunity to catch up and stick with him for a couple of circuits. So the Chipmunk's on landing approach now, and it surprised me how slow it got. I actually ended up overshooting and cut the throttle, but couldn't slow down enough to really capture the entire landing. But I just managed to see him touch down just before I pass over the top of him. The wind's been quite gusty and varying in direction for this flight, and you really notice it when I pull the throttle back on the Nano Talon. She really starts getting buffeted around. So I notice I've still got more than 11 volts in the battery, so I decide I'll have a bit of an experiment with my new GPS data and fly out to the west towards a couple of landmarks that I've flown out to before, and noticed the video start to break up a little bit. So while I was following Neil's Chipmunk, I found that I didn't really have to move the headset at all to keep reasonable quality video. But now that I'm heading out past the half-kilometre mark, I'm starting to see a little bit of breakdown, and I find that I need to move the patch antenna into the right direction to maintain it. I'm a bit nervous about going too far because I don't have a return to home, but I decided to keep on going until I see a little bit more serious degradation of the signal. So I get out past the kilometre and notice that the battery voltage has gone down below 11 volts, and figure, well, that's probably good enough. I'm pretty pleased with the quality of the video. It's still solid. So I turn around and head directly back, and even give it a bit of throttle just to see how quick she comes. So the OSD is currently set to flash when the speed goes over 50 kilometres an hour. That's a residue from my previous plane it was in, so I might adjust that in the future or not. So I'm just going to do one or two low circuits of the field. Just follow this track out to check the current status of the drilling rig, whether they're all finished there yet. I'm not really concerned about the battery voltage. I'm sure there's at least a couple more minutes left in it. It's not sagging very quickly even though it's below the 11 volts. I see the bobcat's still there, so there is obviously still more work to be done. So I just start setting up for an approach from the south so that I can land into the wind, which has become quite substantial. So I was initially having trouble staying on track with these long approaches, but the advice I got about using the rudder has certainly paid off, and I'm having no real trouble at all sticking to the strip, so the landing goes quite well even in the wind. So once again I was very happy with this flight, particularly after the camera settled down and I was able to maintain better visual contact with Neil's Chipmunk. I found that I was a lot more comfortable with the GPS data on the OSD. Of course I'm now thinking of changing the flight controller so that I'll have a return to home capability. And that means maybe it's worthwhile putting a long-range radio receiver in so I can fly further away. God, there's just no end to this stuff, is there, once you start?